Alright, so cancel culture. Turning a person into a non-person. That's what you're saying. It's the exercise of state power to silence critics, real or imagined, in its originations. And then you reference McCarthyism. The canceling could be literal, as in the electrocution of alleged atomic spies, or the erasure of a person, as in the removal of a Paul Robeson name from record books. In its most common form, however, it's the blacklisting. And then you mentioned the witch hunt, Angela Davis, etc., etc. And it's as old as culture itself. Would you say cancel culture is the canceling of culture?
Well, first of all, I want to clarify that cancel culture takes different forms, and we should be sensitive to the differences. Sometimes it's the state that exercises power. Sometimes it's what sometimes are called civil society institutions or non-statist institutions. That could be a university, it could be a publisher. It's a kind of concerted, non-state effort to place limits on what you can say and who can say it. I think current cancel culture, it certainly has the backing of the Democratic Party, that's for certain. But mostly it's in, so to speak, private institutions, but also public ones like a city university or a state university, where there are attempts made, I feel, to rigidify thinking and to impose thoughts which, or I should say, to impose them rather than to persuade and to argue. It's the use of censorship and threats of retribution rather than persuasion.
Got you. Yeah. All right. That definitely leads down the avenue of authoritarianism and things of that nature when it propagates to its fullest extent.
I think we're towards trouble now. The lunch hour must be over.
Yeah, sounds good. Any ideas of closing the window?
I don't think it's going to help. Yeah, lunch hour is over.
Sounds good. Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to try closing the window?
Oh yeah, if you can. Yeah. Yeah, I think it would help.
Okay.
Cool. Okay.
Go ahead.
So the actors in cancel culture, it can be a mass movement, private entities. When governments cancel people, that's tyranny, obviously. In America specifically, has the government played any role in cancel culture, in propagating it?
There are all sorts of conflicts that arise between the aspirations of cancel culture versus government-protected rights of free speech, and how those two interact. So I would say that in general, the courts have not been sympathetic to attempts to curb free speech. So once it gets to the courts, the cancel culture has had problems in trying to impose its will. But mostly I think it's not government inspired, at least the kinds of cancel culture that exist right now.
You were a victim, what do we call it? maybe not a victim, were you a victim, I guess, of corporate culture, not cancel culture? Or were you also a victim of cancel culture soon thereafter as well? How would you differentiate the two, and then how does that specifically relate to you?
I would say that I was up against a significant political force, namely the pro-Israel lobby in the United States.
AIPAC.
And, well, not just AIPAC, it was just a large number, overwhelming number of Jews who, for one reason or another, complex psychological and political and personal reasons, felt this allegiance to the state of Israel and felt it was their duty, their responsibility, their obligation to defend Israel against any and all critics, and that included Jewish critics. Sometimes it included especially Jewish critics.
Yeah.
And so I came up, and Jews are well organized, Jews are very wealthy, those are indisputable facts. So they had wealth, and they had power, and they had organization. They were able to eventually dislodge me or cancel me. But it's also true to say, you know, just in the case of this book I just wrote.
You know, the interesting thing about cancel culture is very much the other versus the self, right? So each is kind of trying to cancel the other. So
I'm not trying to cancel
no, not
anyone.
you specifically, but generally speaking. Well, go ahead.
No, I have no desire to cancel anyone.
But that's how the adversary may view it, in a sense, not literally canceling, but going toward the inkling of the direction of, oh crap.
They regard any challenge to an argument as a lethal wound directed against them. It's not a wound.
Especially if they have
challenge.
Self-interest and things of that nature, though, yeah.
A rational person wants the wound, so to speak. As I said, if you make an assertion, I disagree with you, your response rationally is, prove me wrong.
Yes, yes.
Not shut up.
Unfortunately, though, what drives a lot of cancel culture and society in general is not the truth.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I think a lot of it is imposed whim. This is what, you know, the world according to me, and now you have to, because I'm a person of color, or because I'm a person of this sexual orientation, because that's how I view the world, then you are obliged to view it through my eyes. And I don't accept that.
Yes.
I don't think I have that obligation. Do I have an obligation to respect you? Yes. If Danny DeVito thinks he belongs on the New York Knicks, he has the right to that belief, but am I obliged to say, sure, Danny, you are prime NBA material? No, I don't feel I'm obliged to say that.
Well, I mean, what about his brother, though, Arnold Schwarzenegger? You would give him a chance, wouldn't you?
I don't know his brother.
Twins, you know the movie Twins?
No, I didn't see that. I didn't see it.
You were reading books.
The cultural elements of a desirable future have in large part displaced the material ones. What does that mean in practice? Bernie Sanders, he put forth a pretty practical program for how to achieve a certain degree of justice in our society. Tax the wealthy. Public works program for those who don't have jobs. Cancel student debt. Medicare for all. A very practical program.
Yeah.
What happened as he advanced this program? What happened was all of the politically correct cancel culture people began to attack Bernie. Bernie's weak on race. Bernie's weak on sex. It's Bernie bros. Bernie doesn't support reparations. the whole of cancel culture combined to defeat Bernie. And that to me was a very telling moment. It told me cancel culture is not progressive at all. It told me identity politics is not progressive at all. These are just weapons of the Democratic Party, the purpose of which is to derail, to stop in its track any radical transformation of our society. That's the purpose it serves. It has nothing to do with justice. It has nothing to do with equality. Its purpose is to derail, distract, deviate from a just, a society, at least at the material level, which would be more just than the one we had. And that include everybody, include Angela Davis, include Ta-Nehisi Coates. All of them were, all the icons of cancel culture, they were the ones who were attacking Bernie Sanders.